Our journey tonight starts on eBay. There's a listing for a 1974 mint condition Gibson SG Never Played. And that naturally caught my attention because I had recently let go a 1972 SG with the Gibson Embossed humbuckers. I loved how well that guitar played. It sounded different than all the others. It was pure magic. But it had the opportunity to go to a great home, so I let it go. So when I go to the photos of this one, it's like, yeah, it's got the embossing. So it's probably a 72, maybe early 73. It's the top routed one. It's got the Bigsby, and we've got the really flat blocky carves, so it has to be a 72. But I decided to go through the rest of the photos just to make sure everything else is kosher. And do I believe the mint condition never played thing? Yeah, probably not. I'll certainly bid with a grain of salt, but then I see, yeah, we got the cool tuners. But most importantly, pay attention to the hand that's holding this guitar. You can tell this person is a little older. So perhaps they really have had this for that long and they haven't played it. It was a gift to them or something. So I decided to put a bid in on this auction. So I go to check out his feedback, and more than a year ago, somebody bought this, left negative feedback, and said, I tried to cancel this at least 3 times. Not sure what's up with that. And that is the only seller feedback on this account. And at the time, that was the only item ever sold. All these other 70-some were from buying, and only 2 were from within the last 12 months. And then next, I get a message from them saying that they're leaving for Thailand soon, and that they've never shipped a guitar before. And then even though we already had an agreed on price, he's asking for more money to ship it. I only bring that up because be careful, that can be a scam. They want a separate transaction and then they end up canceling the other one on you so they can just pick up 50 bucks off of you. In my opinion, once you guys have an agreed on price, that is it. They cannot ask for more. But if you want that in your sales contract, that you're not going to charge shipping price until you have the final amount, now that's okay. So needless to say, my scam senses are tingling. However, I am cautiously optimistic about this. I'm still pretty confident I'm getting this guitar, but scammers love to steal photos that have identifiable hands in it because a lot of people will trust an older seller. They're not going to scam me. So I guess it's time to find out what is exactly in this box. Welcome back, troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. I would say this is very shoddily packed. An attempt was made, but there's way too much movement in here. So far, so good. We've got the same Gibson case that was in the listing, because I remember all these scratches and scuffs. Yeah, I guess to be honest, that's much worse than a scuff. That goes straight through. It smells really smoky, but let's see. Did they fill it with a pile of rocks or something? My gut says I'm going to get an SG, but it's not actually going to be mint condition. All right, I see our first ding. But that actually was in the description. But now for the rest. Cool. Let's go ahead and check out this 1972 SG. The other reason why I bring up their hand, I don't mean to be offensive, but older people have bad eyesight. And if you're trying to actually grade the condition of a guitar, usually they aren't the best judge of that. And I think that's why some people have issues selling things online. Or they go, man, everybody wants to return stuff. It's nothing personal, but there's dings scattered all across this thing. So we got our big one right there. Some relatively smaller ones here. But a whole bunch of stuff going on in your arm resting area. This was definitely played. Chewed up in our edge by the output jack plate. A bunch of dings over here. Finished chipping along our edge. More down here along the bottom. Wear through area from a strap. More wear through area here. Big old ding. With a whole lot more over here in your armrest. Some scary looking finish checking by our neck joint. The other side's much nicer. We've got a finish chip over on the neck. Oh, and my favorite, the headstock's all dinged in up here. Yeah, no, not mint condition. Top that off, even some mild finish checking over here. And if you thought the dings on the back were bad, you've got literal gouges into the face. And I can see some fingernail wear to our fretboard. It is not mint condition unplayed. But that's okay. I actually made my offer accordingly. I kind of figured it would be something like this in my condition. When you've bought a lot of guitars online, you know what kind of sellers you're dealing with. Now, had I had paid, $4 grand plus for this, yeah, then I'd be talking to the seller, but I'm just gonna let him go. But now I'm just excited to see if this one plays as nice as my other one. But here's the thing, 1972 was a transitional year for Gibson SGs, where they go from this older top-routed style back to the back-routed style. And what made that last one so special was the fact that it was the very first year of going to the new style and pay special attention to the carving of those horns. When they make that switch, that's when they stop this whole blockiness. I mean, unless you're an SG aficionado, you probably don't even notice it, but it doesn't have any carve right here, whereas if you look at that other one again, it's got a lot of carve. So if you like the horns, you want to go for the slightly later one. So how can you tell what year you have? Well, unfortunately, serial numbers are just about worthless in this era. There's no way to accurately read them. So you have to go based on specs, and a great one is the Gibson Embossings, because they only did that to the pickups for 1 year, and it's 1972. Now, occasionally do you find it 71 or an outlier early 73? Sure. But generally speaking, you can expect to have pot codes in 72 if you have the embossed pickup covers, assuming it's original. It's also the same year that, hey, did you notice this thing has a Les Paul pickguard? Yeah, they go from this style, which is actually slightly floating, by the way, to a more traditional pickguard, being drilled into the top following the curves at the body. From a smaller degree, this is also when they start to transition from your witch hat knobs into the speed style. So it's kind of fun to have both versions from the same year documented on the show. But now that I realize, what I let go on that last one, I'm not as optimistic about this. But who knows? Maybe it'll inspire me even more. Because something else that's unique about this style of SG is just before they switch into those harmonica bridges, which generally speaking, you might think, hey, ABR1, people are going to like that better, right? I suppose it depends on who you are. The thing to know about this style of SG is they are well known for not having the best neck set angles. And having a completely decked down bridge like this means you've got nowhere to go, and that is not uncommon for this model. That said, the action looks okay from here. I don't think we're going to have any issues playing it.
Hey, it's Trogly from the future before I tear it apart. That was with string tension off. With it on, honestly, I would say this is getting uncomfortable. And upon closer inspection, it actually feels like the entire neck has shifted. That's not your usual finish checking line here. So is this action playable? Yes, but it's not the best. And as we were already saying, it's decked. Oh, and there's a piece of binding that was chipped off and re-glued.
Your next option would be shaving down some of the bridge or switching to one with a lower profile. But I'm curious, do we have any case candy? Nope, we lose. But that's okay, we're having fun and learning today. So let's go ahead and throw this one on the workbench to take a look at its parts and specs. Okay, on the workbench. After the discovery of this is probably actually shipping damage, I decided to contact the seller for a return. Had that not had been there, I just would have considered, yeah, okay. I kind of had a feeling it wasn't going to be mint condition, but this guitar actually does have some playability issues. So I almost canceled this episode, but I also thought I would tell him what I would keep this for as a partial refund, just to part it out as a husk, and then these pickups are quite valuable in and of themselves. I thought I would do a full evaluation just to see if there is something that I could offer for this to make his life easier, because he's saying he is indeed leaving for Thailand on Saturday, which makes things tricky. But look right here. SGs are very common for heel breaks, and usually what that looks like is it starts right here by the screw hole of your neck pickup and it cracks up the guitar like so, and then the whole neck falls out the back. We do indeed have a finish check line right there, which means there was some stress on this. Now thankfully it just tapers out and is definitely only finish deep, but that helps confirm to me that this is more than just a line forming where the neck joins onto the body. Something happened in transit. We already saw how badly it was packaged. That's just some additional proof. But the good news is, the embossed pickup covers, it's not reproduction or put on a different set of pickups and then, oh, we got DiMarzio's under here. It's the original patent number T-tops. These are fantastic pickups. And people love buying these and putting them in other projects. However, there's a real easy way to tell if they came out of an SG. look at the pickup leads. Sometimes people will commission private help sessions with me and ask, hey, what's going on with these pickups? Outside of the modern era, almost every Gibson pickup comes with the braided shielding wiring, especially in the 70s. So to see this gray colored stuff makes people think that the pickups have been modified. But no, the SG Deluxe model, that's just how they did it. And if you're thinking, oh cool, 4-conductor pickups in 1972, no, it's just a 2-conductor lead, but for whatever reason they used the gray plastic coating. And speaking of gray, whenever you look inside an early 70s SG, you're going to see this puke green grayish color in their cavities. You might think, hey, did somebody refinish this in a really ugly color at one point and then bring it back to natural? No, the mahogany you're seeing right here actually is a nice, deep, rich color. But just like on the Spotlight specials, remember how I talk about yellow grain fill? And you can see it there? In the early 70s, they were utilizing this kind of grayish green gray fill. It just gives the guitars a signature characteristic look. Because in our pickup cavity, you can see the actual color of the mahogany. It's nice, dark, and rich. I would imagine that was their way of antiquing the guitar a little bit. But if you're curious what this hole is in the neck pickup cavity, you gotta remember they take a long drill bit and drill straight through the guitar from that cavity. And that's how they get their channel route. Sometimes they just go a bit far. But otherwise, we've got the short neck tenon and the usual stuff. Well, let's make sure these pickups work. 7.53 in the bridge, 7.34 in the neck, and they play together at 3.72. So that's good news. But now let's check out our bridge. So it is indeed a Gibson ABR1 with the wire retainer. And looking back here, I can tell it is error correct, so that has not been modified. And here you can see it is a post-mounted system. It doesn't have bushings within the body. But look how thick your thumb wheels are. They're a little bit domed at the top. You might be able to get slightly better action if you could file these down or find a thinner thumb wheel that fits. Another idea I might toy around with is if you just straight up remove the thumb wheels, that would technically get you slightly better action. However, that would be a slow and painful setup at first, but then if you just get some thin washers and put it underneath there, you could get it to where it needs to be. It just wouldn't be regularly adjustable. So there is some hope for this outside of a full neck reset, if you can live with some damages. But if you were looking at one of these thinking, hey, I would love to convert that to a stop bar tailpiece or throw one of them fancy vibrolas on it, I mean, you technically can. But keep in mind that is a top-mounted Bigsby, and you'll have 5 holes. 2 on this side securing the Bigsby to the top, and another 2 here, but you have the 5th one for your grounding wire, and that one actually goes diagonally into the wood. And there is some discolorations here, likely because something seeped into the finish. That's quite common, especially when people try to oil the tuners, it'll just discolor the finish. But speaking of the Bigsby, what makes these cool is in this era, they were actually Gibson branded. So that's fun. Otherwise, here's what the backside of one of these looks like. And the 4th hole for installing is actually hidden underneath your spring, which looks like so. Nice and worn in. But now let's look at the pick guard. I had saw that it was raised up a bit. However, I had forgotten that was a thing, or maybe it's not. I'm not 100% sure. It's been a while since I've had this style of SG. But this is just a regular Les Paul custom pick guard, except for they drilled it for additional screw holes in other areas rather than the typical ones. I mean, you got this one, but the one for your mounting bracket was just over here. But this guitar had 3 plastic spacers underneath it, which takes you from a completely flat mount and raises it up just a hair. So that's why there's a whole bunch of dust and stuff underneath this one. But now our top mounted assembly. So it's regular 2 volumes, 2 tones, neck pickup, bridge pickup, 3-way toggle switch, but it doesn't go this way. It actually goes up and down on this particular one. And then our output jack is located on the front plate as well. And the reason why they did top mounting is it was much easier for Gibson to do. You don't have to flip the guitar around in the manufacturing process. It's cost savings. But we can see some more of that greenish yellow tingy paint as well as some additional shielding. But now the moment of truth. What year is this actually? 137 tells us it's a CTS, and then the next 71 tells us it's a 1971. However, with the 51st week of production, that means it was very late 71. So naturally, everything we know about this and how they started to transition in 72 makes this perfectly line up with an early 72. The very earliest it could be is the second to last week in 71. So you could technically call this a 71, but I'd personally say early 72. As this one matches, as does this one over here, but this little gal got covered over. But that looks untouched to me. But now, moving on from our mahogany body, we've got a mahogany neck with a rosewood fretboard. She's looking dry and could use a conditioning, but I found some more evidence that suggests it's not unplayed. Fret wear in the cowboy chords area, on top of the fingernail wear. The reason why the wood's so much darker in that area is because of a player's natural oils in their hands. Naturally condition the board. But the cool thing about early 70s SGs are their neck profiles, 1.59 at the nut, and only increasing to 2 by the 12th. They're relatively narrow necks. And then they start skinny, 0.79, but then they chunk up, 0.97 at the 12th. That's definitely an acquired taste. If you have big hands, you might not like this, but I've come to like these profiles because of how they chunk up on the edge. Let's stay skinny over here. There that is on the contour gauge, 1st fret and 12th fret. Very rounded, but a little bit slimmer. And it maintains about the same shape, but just gets chunkier. And another thing that's always important to look at when you buy a guitar, your truss rod. You want to pop off the cover, and on a Gibson, make sure a bunch of threads aren't sticking out past the top. So far, so good, but then you actually need to try to use it and make sure it does what it's supposed to do. And this one feels like it's never been used. It doesn't have any loosening direction, but it's got a lot of tightening. I wouldn't call it the easiest to adjust. You have to give it a little bit of pressure, but it's certainly moving. And when I sighted it earlier, it was straight and not warped. But then for the rest of our headstock, we've got the beautifully ambered clear coat making our Gibson logo look yellow, as well as our crown, all those nicks and dings we were talking about earlier, and then Grover tuners. We'll talk about what makes those special over on the back. But now I've got it exactly back how it was sent to me. Let's check out the back, because there's not much going on here. Due to what we talked about earlier, it's a top-routed SG, so we don't have any control plates to look at here. It's just a rather blocky looking SG. You got a little bit of sculpting over here, and then nothing, just a little bit right here, and not too much going on over there either. But they're cool pieces of Gibson history nonetheless. I suppose here's another good look at how that pickguard is actually raised with those spacers. I wanted to look closer at this side of the neck too. See, this is what I would consider more so regular finish checking along where the neck joins to the body. However, if we look closely, you can see some mild separation right here too. So while this is technically playable as is, I think it's more fairly listed as a minor project. Looks like about 0.08 at the 12th, then about 1.1 by the top. 1st fret about 0.04. Also worth mentioning, there's like 3 deep scratches right here. I know they look like finish checks, but you can definitely feel those with your nail.
Hey, future Trogly again. There's actually quite a few of those up here. The other ones aren't quite as deep as that other. These feel more like regular finish checkings, but you do feel them with your finger. Oh, and I failed to mention, in case you can't see it, this is a 3-piece mahogany neck.
But the rest of the neck, besides that finished chip on the edge we were looking at earlier, not too bad. But there are a couple of dings by our volute, and sure enough, there is a very small finish check off this side of the nut too. Those are definitely in the finish, but also indicate that trauma happened. Those are the 2 areas where SGs break, and we've got warning signs. But here's the cool thing about these Grovers. They're the milk bottle style. We've talked about that quite often, how if you look at the top, it looks like a bottle. But the other double cool feature is it's around 71, 72. There's a short-lived variation that has the Gibson branding on them. And I'm far from a Grover expert, but that's the only time that I know of that Grovers came branded as Gibson. They were just trying to put their name on everything. Well, here's our serial number. Looks like 676379. If you plug that into an online guitar data project type thing, yeah, that's how you get 74 and a whole bunch of other random things. Trust me, these don't mean anything. It can help tell you that you're in the early 70s, but other than that, you need to look at pot codes and what other specs you have. Because as we found out, my guess of early 72 was very much confirmed. But on a guitar with suspected shipping damage, it's always good to blacklight it, because sometimes that helps you show it off better. Like, in case you missed this giant gouge out of the top, it is there. Now this smudge over here might actually be something that could be cleaned off. But everything else, I would say it's about what I was expecting here. Face of the headstock, we can see those marks definitely go straight through the finish, but in general, outside of the edge wear and nicks and dings, no obvious cracks. Now our backside, we can see all those finish breaking dings over here quite easily. Looks like we got some sort of a stand rash over here, or maybe a strap reacted to the finish. There we go, confirmed. Finish has been broken and chipped in that area. And we'll just slowly see how badly it was affected. And then our other side looks much cleaner. And then the neck, again, it's hard to tell what's dirt and what's other stuff. Looks like maybe something there, but those finish checks are definitely just in the finish. At this point in time, anyway. And the backside of the headstock has no previous repairs. And all said and done, this one weighs 7 pounds, 4.4 ounces. Let's go ahead, plug it in, and hear how it sounds with its cool embossed pickups. I don't know why, but every time I have one of these Gibson Embossed patent stickers, the tones this thing gives just matches the King of the Hill theme perfectly. That neck pickup is just so full. Not muddy at all, very clear and articulate. The bridge is very hot though. And since it's so close to the strings, you pick that up a lot. I think that technically needs lowered. Let's give that a go. Nice and funky in the middle position. So even though this isn't playing the best, like, man, I wish this action could be just a little bit lower. I do want to mention the output jack. It works, it's just really clicky. You hear that? When you move it around, it kind of pops on you a bit. And also, keep in mind, only 3 screws keep this whole assembly together. So you're really like bending that plastic every time you're moving this thing. Not the most secure design ever in the world, but it works. I'd probably suggest sinking another screw right here, though, to make it even better. As far as the pots, bridge volume is pretty good. Just has like a little scratchiness. Bridge tone. That one's got more scratchiness. It might clean out okay though. Even just using it a bit has definitely helped. Neck position. And tone. The neck pickup doesn't really do the power chords that well. But it's okay for solos. But it's got a nice doomy sludginess to that bridge pickup. So there we go, a different kind of 1972 Gibson SG. I picked this one up thinking that, yeah, it's gonna be a fun story of how the guy said it was mint condition and it's gonna be absolutely beat up. Was not expecting the shipping damage to compound into that, or the other backup plan was it was just going to be a complete scam and, you know, we can laugh about it because eventually I get my money back, but no, this turned into something completely different. But as far as the guitar goes, there really is something to the earlier T-tops before they changed their construction to have the engraved base plate. The patent sticker T-tops have their own thing going on. Now you gotta remember, each set is a little bit different. This one, is it as good as that last 72? It's close. It's got similar tones to it, but yeah, unfortunately, it's a top routed one, not the preferred versions with the nice bevels and everything, but these can still be good guitars as long as you go into them with an open mind and a modding mindset to make their actions a little bit better. So what is the fate of this one? I contacted the seller and he decided he doesn't want to deal with it, so we just worked a partial refund. So this is now available. So if you're interested, feel free to reach out. Use this video to understand what you're actually going to get. It's at best a 7 out of 10, and I think even that might be a little bit nice. But it is a nice sounding guitar that needs a little bit of restoration work, and you definitely need to know about the damage by the heel and the finish checking and all that. But all right, Troglodytes, I hope you enjoyed learning about early 70s SGs, and we'll catch you tomorrow on the next one. Take care.